Alright, let's talk Gemini, new moon for the water signs. And we're going to start with Pisces here. Pisces is squaring Gemini. So if you are Pisces, Sun, Moon, Rising, or nodes in Pisces, then you can hopefully gain some perspectives in relation to this new moon in Gemini coming up on the 6th of June. Okay, so let's look at the chart here. This new moon, we see Venus conjunct the new moon. And we've been going through a lot of reevaluation of our own value, our compromises, and what we have compromised for others and for consensus narrations, for a sense of self, for gravity in being or becoming something. And with Gemini, it's about data analysis. What's the data? What's the information? You want to be able to see multiple different perspectives to form pattern recognition, to develop a sense of what everything is beneath the surface and what it can be above. So unless there's a need to add complexity, you keep it as simple as possible, as light as possible. And we might be seeing where to actually get to the understanding of what it is we keep thinking about, what it is that keeps pulling us in this way or that way in different directions. We can get a sense of where that's deep in the emotions, and sometimes it's not our emotions, it's the emotions of our family, friends, culture, society, ancestors, changing energies. So this new moon conjunct Venus is happening in your 4th house. And if it's your sun, it's 4th house from the sun. If it's your moon, it's 4th house from the moon. If it's the nodes, 4th house from the nodes. So those are imprints of energetic dynamics you can feel into to find the words for the feelings in your own experiences and in the world around us, in the symbology of life. So maybe you want to move, maybe you want to start a family, maybe you want to start a career, something to give reason, purpose to meaning. Maybe you're pulling deep information, energies from the ancestors. Maybe you're finding a gift or a curse that needs to be lived through expression, and you're trying to figure out what's the most optimal way to be in relation to myself, first off, through the depth of who I am, the experiences I've went through, and how I bring that into form, into being. How do I use that energy without allowing it just to simply use me to live out old loops, old dynamics, cycles, consensus, reality narrations. So becoming aware of your foundation, of your meaning, your reason, the roots of who you are, the spiritual process of a life theosis. So now you have Saturn and Neptune, the modern ruler of Pisces, in your 1st house. And Jupiter, the ancient ruler, is conjunct Mercury a new phase conjunction with Mercury. Or Mercury's in a new phase with Jupiter. So awareness of the mind, speaking, communication, maybe some clear thinking, maybe some vivid dreaming, maybe some imagination, some fantasies, some ideas coming to your awareness as you see Pluto here in your 11th, actually no, in your 12th. Pluto retrograde at about 2 degrees Aquarius is trining that Jupiter. And Mercury is coming into a balsamic phase conjunction with the new moon. So whatever Pluto and Jupiter are digesting, reframing, allowing new language for old words, new meanings for old words to enliven the world and your perception as the sense of self of who you are dissolves from what you've been, what the expectations of others are, what the obligations and the responsibilities have been. Realizing those are phases, and we're always growing in life. We're dynamic. We're always accumulating and releasing charge, energy, ideas, beliefs. So how do we hold on to the truth, a purity in a belief through a sense of self which empowers us, invigorates us, and allows us to continue growing? That kind of awareness could be coming to you right now through the dreams, through the feelings of old patterns. You can see Black Moon Lilith is conjunct the South Node here. Venus is the South Node ruler. Venus conjunct this new moon. So your own repressions, how do you bring that back into balance? Simply through recognizing that it's ignorance is a blessing, but sometimes it is a curse because we think we turn it into a strength. We turn it into something that we can handle, that we know how to control or work with, allow to be in our lives. So the shadow repressions and the shadow that you take from others, being of service to the self in these times is a powerful thing for you, especially with the North Node in Aries, your second house of value, and what it is you're cultivating that's of value. That's what defines value in the world. And healing that sense of lack, that sense of unworthiness in the fire that you hold, in the spark of your spirit, and the truth of who you are and who you are becoming always. Now Neptune's at the anaretic degree, very powerful degree. Neptune's very strong here. Saturn is squaring this new moon. Neptune is about spirit. It's about the wounds of the spirit. But it also has to be about the polarity of the wounds, the healing. So, and everything in between. So feeding that which enriches and nourishes your spirit will help you in these times, as always, but more so now than ever, because you can actually put that tension to form through Saturn here. The square can give us rules, regulation, guidelines. And so I used to work in IT, and if you didn't pick your work, the work picked you, and that's how energy is. You pick things sometimes because it's a pattern of an old loop, and then you get stuck in it, and then it no longer serves you and you serve it. So you got to pick new work, pick new routines, things that enrich you, that heal you, that hold you, so that you do not need to seek the gravity of any external system or belief. It will give you the language for what you feel within yourself. One way you could do that is by going in nature. That will stimulate your mind, that will help you ground into reality so that you're taking in the purity of an expression without an intention. It's just being. And in that relation, that resonance, you find the elements within you which are shining, or which are heavy, or which are vibrating, or which are whatever. You find the distinctions. You're able to cast them away easier or incorporate them in new ways. Okay, so we got Uranus opposing Palestina in your ninth house here. Wisdom, the house of God, the Sagittarian house. So bringing the power of your perception through the reflection. We know that what we take in, if we eat bad food and it doesn't agree with us, we pay the price. Heartburn, whatever. If we don't drink enough water, we cramp up. The information we take in, if we hold it too strong, it holds us, and then it becomes part of our programming, our psyche, our resonance. We fall into a hypnosis in relation to it. And so becoming aware of your power is your perception. So peeling away the perceptions which limit you. It may have bound you into something that empowered you, but there's times when you got to release those things and challenge yourself in new ways to grow, because any skill that's true within you, any experience you've had, you will always carry the results and the good and the bad, and if you use the good, you automatically start to release, transmute the bad. As your fire brightens up, the shadows become more distinct, but then they also melt away in the process. And the projection is not quite as powerful, and that pole doesn't entrain us. Alright, so I hope that was helpful. That was an analysis for Pisces. Now I'm going to do an analysis for Cancer. Alright, so here is a astrological analysis of this Gemini new moon for Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising.
He's gonna laugh at you. They're all gonna laugh at you.
Look, it's not too late. You can stay here with me. I don't want to stay with you, Mommy.
Look, now is the time. The gods favor you. Great wealth, power, conquest, all you desire. The world is yours. Take it.
Alright, let's tone God mode down. The echo is going on. Okay. The purity of your flow. Working your beliefs through the tension of something deep within you. Set in motion before you were born. The ancestors. A natural, instinctual language rises up within you, and you find this language in the world. You find places to bring the form. How to create, co-create with other in relation to being. So the moon child, the river of life, the ancestors. Okay, so following your intuitive flows, the feelings. The unconscious is active right now, particularly for Cancer rising. But Sun, Moon, I mean, it's 12th house energies in those areas, so you could physically be feeling tired, emotionally you could be feeling like you are either releasing burdens or carrying them in this time. So new moons are about new cycles emerging. Starts with the seed, it begins to grow roots, push through the soil, and then it finds the air and it takes in the sun and all the other elements of nature. Start to work with it, through it, for it, against it. So we have been against ourselves many times in life, and it was part of our process of holding the ignorance in order to learn. We have feelings, we have knowing, but we can't honor what the knowing is until it's been given birth through the experience and the felt presence of that experience in life. And then we can actually hold that meaning, and that reason finds a real flow in life within us. And so we're always finding flows, and we don't often find the authentic ones because we're in relation to edifice, to system, to hierarchy, through culture, expectations. Saturn is father form, sitting across. So Pluto is at 1 degree, 2 degrees basically of Aquarius, trining Jupiter at 2 degrees of Gemini. Mercury is in a new phase conjunction with Jupiter, and Pluto is retrograde. And Pluto will go back into Capricorn one last time here, at least for another 250 some years or so. So that transformation of your awareness through the repressions of our values, the compromise that we sacrifice for another or for a situation, or because our ignorance was an expectation that was programmed into us when we were young, we may find that relationships, careers, your life direction, the paths in life now have an opportunity to change in drastic ways because you are not who you used to be. This budding awareness in Gemini here, which transforms in Capricorn. That awareness has to work towards transformation through self-expression and the things we hold very deep within us. The wounds, the echoes, the perturbations deep within the ocean of Scorpio. So this Capricorn energy is transformative right now. And the reason it can be is because you're more aware of who you are. And now you can never look upon the same thing the way you once did, because you're no longer seeing it from a reference point, ensnared downstream in the past, or projected upstream into someone else's expectation. So absolutions falling away, fading, deteriorating, and new potentials rising. And when these new potentials rise, you could feel the energy change, and you can feel the unknown. It's unsteady times, it doesn't make you feel good usually. But if you've got 12th house energy, you probably have an idea of what that tension is, how you can put it to form for yourself by tapping into that square to Pisces, or with this Gemini new moon, where Pisces is in your 9th house and Saturn's there with Neptune. So pulling in the wounding, the spiritual wounding, through dissolving traumas that are no longer resonant with your current awareness, your consciousness. You have disintegrated, dissolved a lot of programming, a lot of expectations have been shown to be placeholders for truths in a moment in time when you needed some kind of gravity to hold a conviction, a belief. And these limitations may have actually strengthened us for a time, and our strengths may have appeared to be beneficial, but as time moves on, we need to release and grow in new ways and develop new strengths and express, because we're always changing, so the river flows. And as you shine that awareness, that's the core of Aquarius from in the star card, as you shine new, you find that your flows are easier to follow because they're in resonance with a sense of self that is no longer bound to the expectations of the past and others. And so you're expanding your knowledge by applying the wisdom, applying your action into life to cultivate wisdom. And that's how I see the 9th, 3rd house dynamic with Virgo and Pisces here. So you can square into that energy, and you can be of service to yourself, knowing that your values change through life, and beliefs that you hold in relation to those values change too. Doesn't mean that you need to admonish anyone else or give anyone else that kind of perspective, other than by living it through your own actions, your own awareness, and holding your fire down the river of life. And so Venus is conjunct the new moon. She rules South Node in Libra. We see Black Moon Lilith in conjunct that South Node in Libra in your 4th house. We see the North Node, Chiron, and Mars in your 10th in Aries. So your compromise is your sacrifice. You're learning how to bring the anima or the animos into bear, into vision, into balance within yourself. And this is learning that Pallas Athena opposing Uranus energy and Taurus Scorpio. This is where your perception is your power, and you temper it through life, through channeling your passion, your drive towards what you could be, your changing vision, your change of careers, your direction in life could be changing at this time, and you can embrace what that is by just realizing everyone is going through their own process. Some people are more unconscious. When you're more unconscious, the emotions possess us. When that happens, people carry resonance of demon, carry resonance of karma, of tragedies past, and they're expressing it in life to release it, to purify themselves. And there are aspects of that we help with in life, and when you're no longer in resonance with that, it means because you're growing, and this is the time you can harness that power for yourself. Alright, that's all I wanted to say for Cancer. So now let me switch the chart to Scorpio.
It is not the violence that sets man apart. Alright, it is the distance that he is prepared to go.
Steaming wings. And you know what they're saying, Larry? They're saying, this is the year that Fink beats the stomach. No, it's a couple of guys over here, but they're saying it. No! Save it.
Alright, let's do Gemini new moon analysis for the sign of Scorpio. So if you got Scorpio sun, moon, or rising, here is an astrological breakdown you can utilize for some perspectives. I like to focus on dynamics, the hermetics of life. So let's look at this new moon in Gemini. It's in your natural 8th house, which is the house of transformation for Scorpio. So Gemini is your transformation. Scorpio is the most interpersonal relational sign. And that interpersonality is based deep in the emotions, deep in the feelings. Feelings which have been set in us long ago. A stone was thrown into this ocean. The stone fell, became the ocean. So it's this realization of self and other, the dynamic interplay of energy, relations, the friction of relations. So in life we go through experiences, we feel things deeply, and then as life progresses our experiences unfold, and the cultivation is shown through our ignorance of where we come from, where we are today, and where we could be tomorrow. Scorpio is the spirit of Sagittarius. And the spirit of Scorpio is Libra. And so on and so forth. But you could think of it in many ways. So let's look at this new moon. Venus is conjunct this new moon at 16 degrees Gemini. That is in the Venusian degrees according to Ptolemy, or Ptolemy, however you like to pronounce it. I like to put the P in there. But this new moon is about transformation. Interpersonal relation to yourself, to your own experiences, to your reasoning. We see Pluto retrograde at 2 degrees Aquarius. Pluto is the modern ruler of Scorpio. But the ancient ruler is Mars, and Mars is in Aries, very strong. Close to your natural descendant, which is essentially the other. So the passion in this world which circuits through us, which channels through us, which we ground into. And we ground into it through relation. And in that we're transforming beliefs because our values are being realized as we ourselves acknowledge our shadows and our light. Sometimes it's much easier to acknowledge the shadows than the light, and vice versa. And it's generally phasal to your personal seasons. Your instrument was tuned before you were even born. Imagine if you nurtured your nature into reality, and it wasn't even a choice, it was just a recognition of resonance. Pluto, Plutonic energies, is about transformation. Transformation is change. I mean, Scorpio squares into Aquarius. So transformation comes about in many different ways. Change comes about in many different ways, but they are one and the same if you really think about it. It's an interpersonal relation with the self and life in Scorpio. And in Aquarius, it's about the potential, so you forget who you thought you were to become who you might be, and it leads you down this pole. And your desires rise, and you meet them, you fall prey to them, and you slay them, and then you realize the question keeps leading to new answers. And we figure out that the question is the most important thing, and it's realizing the self. Alright, so the compromise of Venus. What did you compromise? You can go through the shoulda, coulda, woulda, the whys, and the why nots. That's a natural process. And then you can settle into what's below that. It doesn't matter what happened, it's what's happening, and you're happening. You're realizing it. So you can work a spirit of awareness into that through your routines, through the temple of the self. Start with your physical body, move to the mental body, move to the spirit. How are you feeling? If you go into different environments, the epigenetics will seep in. You can feel it. So go into nature, the most raw, authentic expression of existence, and you can tap into that Aries energy, the yang aspect of Mars. The volcano at the bottom of the ocean with the Martian energy in Scorpio transforms through your work, your effort. So choose one which is optimal for you, which can accomplish multiple tasks simultaneously. This is reaching into that Gemini energy. Wu Wei, it's an art of life. You can accomplish multiple things when you aren't possessed by outcome or possessed by detail analysis or the myopia that we get pulled into as we learn patterns and find the language for the feelings. So Pluto is trining Jupiter at 2 degrees Gemini in the mercurial section of the chart, and Mercury is breaking out of that conjunction with Jupiter. So Mercury is in a new phase conjunction to Jupiter and balsamic phase to this new moon with Venus. And the messenger of the gods, it's like the moon. The moon brings emotional impulse, experiential impulses, the felt presence of experience. Mercury is the recognition of it. When you have the language, the ideas start to boil. You're starting to see the symbology of life, the synchronicities, and you're starting to understand that you yourself are transforming. And this is why this language is rising up. And it happens all the time. Sometimes we're so drawn into what it is we're doing, we miss what it is. And we fall into the power of the ignorance, so we can cultivate the wisdom, ultimately. Alright, so Pallas Athena is in Scorpio opposing Uranus. Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius, and it's essentially T-squaring Pluto by sign. So the dynamics, the fixed cross is in effect. So how do you embody the changing of yourself? Look at Saturn squaring this new moon. Saturn in the disillusionment of the Piscean dream. So relinquishing, releasing, realizing strengths, weaknesses, the hand-me-down programming, the legacies of the ancestors, the spiritual wounds, the unconscious that we all share and we're trying to transform through becoming more aware. Use the Saturn energy to your advantage to rewrite your own book. And you change the past through the present going forward. It's not so much conscious as it is the ritual of life, putting the action into void, throwing the harpoon into this void of potential and pulling back reason, reconstructing. And in doing this, you show others how to bring Prometheus to form. Prometheus comes about through the Uranian energies, healing the mental wounds. The knowledge is pain, you know, but once you learn your language, it's not as painful. Then it becomes something else, and that's what we're honing in a lot of times. So Chiron in Aries, the self-devaluation, the self-rewilding. We have Black Moon Lilith conjunct the South Node, so it is the repressions of the anima, the animas, our compromises for others, our compromises against our value because we didn't actually know the value in real time. So now the judgment is over, we have a second chance. And the second chance is always within you. It's the promise of Pluto. Pluto brings the gifts of the ancestors if you work with your realization. And pulling through the ancestral lines of the Aquarian age, this is Prometheus, this is Uranus. If you've got Uranus and Scorpio, these are your times for honing in on that. I myself, I have Uranus opposed Mercury in a T-square with Saturn on my AC/DC/MC, as well as Chiron and Nemesis and the parts of life. And I mean, it's just, I've got a lot of things going on, and we all do. And learning the language is nice. You can hold it and then release it and move on. Neptune, anaretic degree of Pisces, by sign squaring into Gemini, but we'll be going over the Aries point here. So spiritual healing, the warrior, the spiritual warrior. I think the war concept is going to be changing. I think it's going to be so old it's new. So the language is changing, and it's the internal language first, the feudalism of spirit external, raining down through psyche, into mind, into ideations, consensus, reality narrations. And that's what forces us into the individuation of the self, and we come alive that way, and we fall into true resonance. Alright, well, I hope that was helpful. If so, thanks for watching, listening, and being. And even if not,